Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. And today I'm joined by a very, very talented guest. She is Roz Dunning and she's a professional singer and stand-up comedian. And it's an absolute privilege and joy to welcome this lady who's a very, very dear friend of mine as well, who has worked with me on stage. And it's a privilege to say welcome to our podcast. Welcome, Roz Dunning. How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm old, as you can now see, but I'm fine.
Not at all. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on today, Roz. And what I wanted to do was to get to know you. So we know each other very well. We know
Yes, we do.
lots of things. But the viewer would like to get to know you a little better. So what I was going to ask you was your career as a singer and a comedian, and which we'll come on to in a little bit more detail later. How did things start for you, Roz? Because although I met you in Blackpool, can you tell us where you were born and where you went to school?
I was born in Barking, which at the time was East London, but is now Essex. And then when I was 7, we moved to Kent, and I grew up down there and moved up to Blackpool 24 years ago, nearly 25 years ago now. My performing career, my mother tells me, started when I was 2. I was in a little dance school show and they had to literally force me on the stage. I refused to go on. But then once I got on and did my little, I think it was horsey, horsey, don't you stop, and a little tap bit, okay? And everybody clapped. And then I wouldn't come off the stage. They had to shut the curtains. And I just apparently said to my mum, they were all clapping for me.
Oh, and this is age 2, Roz?
Yes. So then I just carried on.
What was that in? Was that a musical or
no,
children's?
It was, nowadays I would have been diagnosed with ADHD at a very early age. But back then I was a curious and energetic child. So my mum tried to take me to activities, and this little dance school was one of them. And they said, oh, well, we don't know. We don't normally take them that young. We'll see how she gets on. And I loved it and have always loved performing ever since. I was that annoying kid that got the lead in every school show.
Oh, did you, Roz?
Yeah, I've gone to every sort of performing arts club. Then I did performing arts at college and just carried on. And as you know, you gig wherever you can gig and you do whatever you can do, even if it's dressed as a hot dog handing out leaflets, because it gets you towards your equity.
It's true. It's very true. Very true. But going back to your youth, would you say your mum, Vi Dunning, a big shout out to her, she's lovely. Would you say she was an inspiration in getting her daughter on the stage, putting her daughter on stage, as they say?
She was the one that took me to dance classes, and she has always loved seeing me perform. So I think it's this kind of symbiotic thing where I enjoyed going to the clubs and learning stuff, and my mum loved seeing me perform. So that was kind of hey, look, mum, the money's worth it.
And how fantastic that you were shining. Can you say some of the roles that you did play, Roz, in your youth?
In my youth, going back now, I was in a very old show called Boyfriend, and I was in that. I can't remember her name. But there's a grotty, bossy old lady at 14. I've done various things. You've seen me in other amateur stuff, like I was Free Sarah in Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes.
bits and pieces, but mostly I did lots of singing shows and stuff. Like at school, it's the standard things. It's all the same school things that every school does. You know, you've got your nativity. Because I grew up in the 70s, we did George and the Dragon. We did, you know, all these plays based on the stuff we were learning in school. So, but
and how did you feel, Roz? Did you feel were you a confident child? Because I've spoken to a lot of different artists, and some were confident, some were shy, some
No.
had something to prove. Very often we always reflect and say we didn't love ourselves enough. I say that. So we wanted the world to love us on the stage. How was it for
Yeah.
you, Roz? Were you naturally confident?
No,
Not at all.
not in the slightest. When I was 40, I got diagnosed with ADHD and Asperger's autism.
14?
Which then 40.
40. Okay, so
yeah.
okay.
And that kind of made me look back on my youth and go, that's why I was a bit weird. But drama, performance, it gave me a chance to be with a group of weirdos, because I love all my fellow performing friends, but most of us have got some kind of social disorder, and it's love me, love me, love me. So
yes.
In that respect,
I think that's an entertainment thing where you, like I say, you don't have enough self-worth, perhaps, and who does? I mean, it's a grand spectrum, but we seem to want the applause. We seem to want some sort of recognition. And would that be true for you as well?
I think so. And it's like when you get on stage, and it's always a character. Even when I did Cabaret, Roz was this character I created who was confident, who could get up on stage and deal with 300 drunks a night in Blackpool, who could do all those sorts of things. And in other shows, you're always given your character. So at that point, you're not insecure because you're not being you. You're being this other person, and that other person doesn't feel that way.
Yes.
And so that's what it was for me. A lot of it.
Putting a mask on, basically.
Yeah.
You
and I both know. I mean, I spent my childhood trying desperately to make everybody happy and wear the right masks for everybody. And all that does is leads to you not knowing who you are. You have no clue. That sort of, I kept on living my life that way until I had my strokes. And then when I had my strokes, it was like, I can't keep pleasing everybody else anymore. I have to have the energy to do what I need to do. You know, at the time, Joe was 11, Ed was 14.
These are your children. These are your children. Yeah.
Well, children. She's 27 next birthday, and Ed's just turned 30 now. So it gives you an idea. But yeah, it was, you know, I didn't have the time to please other people then. I didn't have the energy to please other people. And so it was only then, and like I say, through that, with all various neurological testing, that is when they said to me, oh, you have ADHD and Asperger's autism. So if I hadn't had the strokes, I'd probably still be desperately dancing around on a stage and trying to impress people.
So what you're saying is something physical ended up hitting you because you had, as many entertainers, high achieving, perfectionist, people pleaser, all these qualities, because I know you very, very well. And we do share a crossover of our, you know, and what I love about you is you are also a fantastic psychologist. And you know, you don't need the badge. If you've walked the walk, and you really have, Roz, because thank you for explaining to everybody as well that you've also had significant health detrimental issues occur. And that's very important for this channel, because what we want people to understand is that they're not alone, and that we see this person in makeup on the stage, and we think that they've got it all.
Yeah.
And we leave the theatre as a spectator and we think, oh, well, they've got a perfect life. But people don't understand that underneath that, and this goes, I'm sure, for Eric Morecambe, who was one of my heroes as a child, I'm sure one of yours as well, as both of us are comedians.
Yes.
But it goes for all the people we aspire to. They can't, you can't operate at full function forever with a mask on. At some point that mask starts to melt.
It has to come off.
And it's got to come out in some way. And in many of us, including myself, it can come out certainly in a health detriment as well if you push yourself too much.
I think it does. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the contributor to my strokes was stress. And I was trying at the time to be a mother, a wife, and a performer. Yeah. It was very difficult to fit all three in. And I was trying to do them all really, really well. And it just swept my feet out from under me, because I'm not going to say because I wasn't being me, but because I was trying to put a fit into everyone else. Like, for example, when I had the first, because I had 3 little strokes.
And how old were you, Roz? How old were
39.
you? 39.
After the first one, because I was producing a musical for the local children's youth theatre, I had the first one and I signed myself out of hospital to be at the rehearsal because it was on the following week. Yeah. And so and I know you probably would have done the same. Yeah. Everyone else thought I was a loony, but in me, that little be professional was, no, you're producing a show. You can't just leave these kids. You have to go. And that, they said, is probably what brought on 2 and 3, was the fact that the first one, I didn't listen to my body. The second one, I still didn't listen to my body. So the third one made sure that I had to, because I wasn't capable of doing much for myself after that. And it also left me with this interesting condition called dissociative disorder. Okay. Which is very strange. Joe calls them my funny turns.
Okay. So you were once being paid for your funny turns, and then suddenly they were coming for free.
Yes. Well, what it is, for me, I don't know anything about it. I literally lose time. I'll lose 3-4 hours at a time, as if I've been asleep.
Okay.
But I don't go to sleep. I still walk around and do things. And that's why Joe, like, she'll see it coming, apparently, in my eyes. She can see it's coming on, and if she can get me to go to bed, then I'm quite safe and whatever else. But when I'm not in bed, I will walk around and do various strange things, like trying to make cocktails for my 14-year-old children at the time, and just stuff that just I would never ever do. But
yes
touch wood, those have reduced as I have been more self-caring and less caring for others. So, yeah.
And you see, I would say you have never been less caring for others. I know what we describe it is we are now focused on ourselves, but actually with our characters, our natural characters, I don't think we could ever fully do that. And certainly with your gorgeous nature, you've always given more to everybody than to yourself. And I think that self-care is really important. And for any teenagers watching today, most definitely, take heed of this. We all think we're invincible. We all think we're going to last forever, and that every mission is possible and it's never going to happen to me. And it's interesting that you collapsed at 39. I was 39, and Rich Roll, who's written a book, who's the ultra marathon runner. I say in the book I've just written that he also collapsed at 39 and had his awakening then. So it's an interesting age, and it does seem to transcend.
I think it comes to a big point, isn't it? Your 40th is like, I should be happy and I should be doing what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe something in the brain goes, you ain't going past 40 if you don't slow down.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't know, it's very strange. But like you say, so many of us at that age, but I've been performing all my life. And as other people.
take us back to that, Roz. If you go back into your childhood once again, and you were, I think there's some certain people that you were performing with. You were down in, where were you from again? You were down in
I was down in Kent from when I was 7. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And just take us back to that, Roz. What made you move to and from? So when you were born where was that?
I was born in Barking,
Okay.
which at the time, like I say, was East London, but I think now it's in Essex, technically. And we stayed there till I was about 7.
Wow.
So we moved to Kent, to a little tiny village called Hextable.
Yeah.
Which was more like a dormitory place. You know, everybody got on the train and went into London to work. So that's where we grew up. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. We had easy access to London.
Yeah.
And my mum adored musicals, so we were always going to the West End to see musicals and shows. But we also got that village life where, you know, as a group of kids that lived in the same street, one of us had a watch and off we went, and we knew we had to be back by 5 o'clock, and that was that. And we were gone from 9 in the morning, and nobody ever worried, because we were always going to come back.
Complete freedom is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And did you have a sibling or a best friend at that time, or anybody?
I had a brother who at the time was my absolute nightmare. We fought. I think the thing is, I don't know about you, but I think girls tend to try to fit in and make people happy more than boys do. Not always, but a great deal. My brother, he didn't really like school.
Okay.
He didn't really care about school. And for my parents, education was everything.
Yeah.
So I was okay, because that little gremlin in my mind was like, make mum happy, make dad happy. So I got straight A's. So as far as that was concerned, I was like the golden child.
Yep.
And my brother would continually just not get any grades, not do his work, not do this, not do that. My dad was one that I really struggled with, because I love my dad dearly. I do. I really love him, but he was an incredibly violent man. So when we did things wrong, there was physical repercussions. And it wasn't until I got to my teen years and spoke to other people that I realised the smack that they got was very different to the one I got, because obviously in the 70s it was still physical punishment for your child was acceptable. You could smack your child.
Punishment. Yeah, corporal punishment in schools. They had it
in schools.
Yeah.
And so there was this kind of half of me worshipping him and the other half terrified of him.
Oh.
And my mum was just as terrified of him. So it was kind of weird. It was good, but not so good. I didn't really get a best friend till I got to high school. And her name was Odette. And we were both the ones that got left out. So we just teamed up together.
What I love is that all my friends are the ones that are on the peripheral. And I say that with absolute sincerity and love, because I was as well. But then other people look at us, Roz, and they don't see us like that. So again, it's a lot to do with self-perception. Yeah,
it is. And
so you and Odette made good friendship. What was the essence of your relationship with Odette?
Well, we laughed, which is always a good thing, especially when you're being bullied in school. To be able to laugh is amazing. We hung out at each other's houses. We went to the local shopping centre at the weekend, and when we were about 15, we got a McDonald's, which was amazing, because there weren't one on every corner at that point. They were this new American thing.
Yes.
And just, we just were teenagers together. It wasn't that it was anything special, but we accepted each other for who the other one was, and that was special.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
the way I say it now, I have a group of friends now, and we are all neurodiverse. So we've all got various Asperger's or ADHD or other things. So it's now we say my weird gets your weird. And that's what I really say. I say that to the teenagers I work with. You don't have to be normal. There's no such thing as normal.
No.
Just as long as you find people whose weird gets your weird, you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's nice that you bring into today how you are teaching and working with others, because that was how we met, wasn't it? If you can remember.
Yes.
So I would be early 30s perhaps, and the same for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Roz. So we met at a theatre group, didn't we? And you at the time were working with Leanne Kirkham, who was on Tramshed. Can you tell us about Tramshed, Roz?
Tramshed is based on Chicken Shed in London. A woman who had a child with physical disabilities, cerebral palsy, I believe, and no theatre group would take the child. They wouldn't accept a disabled child at that point.
Oh.
So she had literally a chicken shed in the back of her garden, an old one. She cleared it out and started with other mums that she knew with children with disabilities, but also any local child that had an interest in performing could go to this theatre group and they would put on little shows. Now it's huge. It has its own theatre. They run training for all the different satellites that are around the country. Nearly every city has one. Most towns are having one or got one. And Tramshed started initially because, same thing, a lady called Maureen had a daughter with Down syndrome, desperately wanted to get into a theatre group, and none of the local ones would accept her. So she'd heard of Chicken Shed and she pushed to get Tramshed up. And there was Leanne and I, Caroline, and I think that was it to start off with. We went down and trained how to sort of run groups in the Chicken Shed way so that we could come up and then create Tramshed in Blackpool.
So where was the training, Roz? Was that in London?
Yeah, it was down in Barnet, actually.
Okay.
And you go, we went, I think every 3 months you go for a week or so. So we would stay down there for a week and you would have some sort of talking at you training, but a lot of it was about going into the different groups that they had, working with all these people with different abilities, and teaching you to problem solve, teaching you how to incorporate those people into a performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how we met, because I was working with Leanne there, and I think you'd got stuck for some staff. I went in and did puppet shows with wooden spoons at one of
you
the
did
schools.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And what was your role? So we know Leanne is a dancer.
Yeah.
What was your role, Roz?
Just performance. I just classed it because I had dance training.
Yeah.
Although as I got older, my physicality dictated.
No, you could always dance very well.
Oh,
but
no,
what
I
was
could dance, but nobody's going to pay to watch someone 20 stone do the Dying Swan. Well, they might in a comedy act, but they're not going to do it in real terms.
Always self-deprecating, but that's what comedians are. But Roz, honestly, you have a great dance ability. But I was wondering if it was like Stagecoach was dance, drama and singing, and at Stagecoach I was the drama teacher as the master skill. What did you have a master skill, or was it everything?
Thing. Everybody teaches everything.
All of them, dancing, singing and acting. Fantastic.
And it's a really great basis, but I left for two reasons. One, the lady that had tried to set it up decided it was okay to pay her personal household bills through the money that we were getting for grants to set this up.
Okay.
And secondly, whilst Chicken Shed was a great idea, I didn't like the way they ran it. For example, children that it might take a bit more work were walked onto the stage. One student I know, I put in a show when I ran my own group later on, and he remembered lines and did brilliantly.
Yes, yes.
In a tram shed show, wasn't classed as somebody who could do that. So he was literally walked on, had his arms moved about like that. That was him being a tree. He was in the show. And that's what I didn't like.
No.
So,
but you
I
learnt from
decided-
that. What's great, Roz, is with your wisdom and integrity and care and adoration, as you say, for equal rights for all.
Yeah.
I also have the same, as you know, with my
Yes.
own theatre school. I feel that, I mean, Leanne would laugh at my choreography for 4-year-olds because, you know, and
Hey,
quite
look,
rightly so. She's, you know, I was doing double pirouettes, and maybe that's a little bit advanced. And of course, Leanne is correct on that. But the point is, Leanne as well also has that skill, as does her mum Julie, who was also working within a school with different learning and needs abilities. Wonderful people, all of you, and a joy to have worked with all of you. But we all pushed the boundaries. We all believed that people could do so much more than the limitations that we are often granted. And that goes for what one would consider able-bodied people as well. There's a lot of personal insecurities, and I would say to the children right up to the show, you don't have to go on the stage. So you can just watch your little sister, because it was usually the big sister. You can watch your little sister up there and clap and sing and join in the audience. You don't have to go up, but you can bet your bottom dollar that come the stage show, they were the first trying to get up. So you and I and Leanne and Julie, we have this ability, perhaps it's our deep empathy for people.
If you feel other, which I did growing up, and I didn't know why I felt other, but I definitely felt other. You tend to look at people around you who are marginalized and made to be other. And they're not. It's not. It's just
we're
not
all the same. Absolutely.
So that's when I set up Phoenix, because I decided that I wanted a theatre group that incorporated everybody. And what we did was, instead of doing set scripted shows, we did things like pantomimes, where I could fit everyone in and give everyone a moment doing what they could do. For example, I had a lovely guy, 27-year-old Downs guy. He was non-verbal, but he loved Bugsy Malone, you know, the bad guys, that bit. So I made him a bad guy in a pantomime, and I played that bit of song, and he got a minute at the end to do that bit going off the stage, and he was ecstatic with that. It made him so happy. And I think that's what sometimes distresses me a lot of the theatre schools, especially in Blackpool and the surrounding areas, because they do feed into an entertainment industry here. And a lot of them are very like, if you can't sing, dance, and you can't go on the West End stage tomorrow, then we don't really want to see you. So no, sorry, we don't accept you. But yeah, I did loads of shows with my kids. They loved every minute of it.
And when was this, Roz? So you worked at Tram Shed, as you say, and that gave you some insight into different ways of teaching, and from that you then followed your own inner wisdom and set up
I set up Phoenix. I had been producing shows for a local youth theatre, so it gave me the kind of like, oh, I can actually do this. I can take this from a piece of paper to a full-blown show. So that's what I did. I made sure, you want to perform, I don't care how you want to perform, we'll get you in somewhere, we will fit you in there. I remember one guy had been previously turned down by other people, and he got a role in the show singing because that's what he wanted to do. And my mum was sat next to his mum when he came on stage and sang, and his mum was sobbing, absolutely sobbing. And my mum's like, "What's the matter?" She went, "Never heard him sing. I've never ever heard him sing." So, and that's the sort of thing.
Yeah.
Children should have that. Every child should have that.
Every child deserves their moment.
Yeah.
And
whichever way they need to get it, they deserve it.
Yes. And what inspires me about you, Roz, is that you genuinely care. Now, there's a lot of people that, as you say, they set up companies, whatever that may be, professional or otherwise. And as you quite rightly said, and I tried to do the same with my company, Sparkle Theatre School, of which you also co-directed and produced and choreographed on numerous shows, summer schools and so on, and your own children were involved in multiple capacities. Yes, they were. I think it was the first time Ed cross-dressed and he stole the show. Your son stole the show. He absolutely did. Because what is great about the opportunities of the theatre when you open it to everybody and every single background is the rewards, as you say, are not just from the child but from the parents, because it's an opportunity to do something that they would never ever have had,
and quite often something that they've been told their child will never be capable of.
Yes, and because you and I felt on the peripheral, we wanted to incorporate anybody who felt on the peripheral.
We got to be friends, but I think because we both had this professional attitude, that I was working for you when I was doing those things. So I was a member of your staff and I did what you needed me to do. And then outside I might say, "Oh, we could try this, Cathy," at a separate point, away from children, away from everyone else. And I think that was why we could work together so well, is because there was that mutual respect and that this is
and love, and that, as you say, to bring your own children in, that it has to be an absolute, we became soulmates, because I totally respected and admired all of your qualities and skills, especially psychology. And psychology is an excellent skill, and as I say, you had an innate ability to understand and empathize with the children. And, I hope that I also followed in that line, but you really had that strength, Roz, and I really admired.
Sparkle if they didn't have that. They loved it. You're crazy, Cathy. You're part of my kids' happy childhood memories.
Oh, so the point being that it's a team, and that's what I wanted my own school to be. We had the Garstang Theatre School gymnastics come, we had Blackpool Circus skills, we had stage fighting with Andy Ash, lots of different acts. But you, as I say, were always side by side in multiple of these productions, and an absolute joy to work with. And do you remember at the end, for our own comedy on the last day, on a Friday morning, we would have horse racing with a child sat on the other child's back, and they had to, and it wasn't speeds, there was no danger, it was acting. So
you have to act the best to get to the
act horse racing, and so the slowest might be the winner, because they had the winner's finale. That became something. For 10 years we did it.
It had to be done all the time. The kids demanded it.
And in the end, we wanted to do it, in our own adult time. So these are the things and the gifts that we take with us in life. And the pleasure, I want to say to anybody, and I want to then bounce it back to you, anybody wanting to set up their own theatre school, I want to call it all-inclusive, because like an all-inclusive breakfast that my father, Steve Vandome, would enjoy. That's what I call it. You call it neurodiversity, I call it all-inclusive breakfast. So everybody is included, everybody is given a chance to shine, and you and I did that more so than perhaps than other groups, because we didn't want this one little star to shine. We wanted everybody to be to have that opportunity, no matter what their skill set, so they could leave thinking, well, I also had a turn this time.
And I just remember every time they did a show, when you did Lucky Stiff, and all the little ones got up and did their doggy dance, and we were doing the dance at the back, but you see them all and they're so excited when they've done it, and it does bring a tear to your eye. It makes you really happy, because they're happy. They've done something amazing, and they've shown their friends and their family what they can do, and really enjoyed it in the process. And you were part of that, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like I helped them.
Yeah.
And
when the lights come down, as much as you and I enjoy the stage ourselves, when the lights come down and you've created this product, and I remember having fairies in A Midsummer Night's Dream and running out of fairy ideas. So in the end, one boy came on and he said, I am fairy liquid, with a whole dressed as a bottle. And so then we can use our comedy to transcend to the children. And there is no greater reward on this earth. It's lovely having an applause, but there's no greater reward than giving to others and seeing them, feel that inner feeling of, I can do this.
Yeah, I can do this. It's amazing. It's kind of why I love my job now. My job now is working at the local college, but I work as support in the performing arts department.
Wow.
So I have currently 5 students. 2 are autistic. The other 3 have things like ADHD or anxiety disorders, whatever else. So I support them, but you end up supporting the whole group, because invariably with performing arts, it's all these people that they do need the help. They haven't had a diagnosis. When you meet them, I can go, oh yeah, you've got autism. But my weird recognises your weird. It's fine. But that's the joy of it, is being able to work with them and tell them it's okay to be you. You don't have to be anyone else.
Wonderful.
You can just be you. And when the teaching staff are the same as well, I've got to give them their props, because they could make their life easier. They audition people to get them on the course. They could just say, nope, 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 but they don't.
Yeah.
And so when it's coming from the teaching staff as well as from me, it's a really good, strong message. And we have a group of kids who are confident being who they are, exactly who they are, with
fantastic,
no apologies. And there's nothing better.
And where are you teaching, Roz? Where are you in Blackpool at the moment?
I'm at Blackpool in the Fylde College in the School of Arts campus, which is in Blackpool Centre itself. And like I say, I don't technically teach, although I think Sam and Nikki disagree with me, but my job is not to teach. My job is as support. I help them with the academic work, especially those with learning difficulties. We have quite a few now that, because of the COVID lockdown, missed their essential years at school. So we're trying to catch them up on everything. So I help them with the academic side of it. But then when they are doing rehearsals and scenes and shows, then I help them with that too. I help them work on character and, things, silly things. Like in one of the scenes they were doing, somebody had a swig of vodka and they're just going, so right, have you ever tasted alcohol? And they're like, yeah, it's horrible. I said, right, well, when you're swigging vodka, even though you're acting, it's not just so it's just those little things that as performers
yes,
and you're able to pass that on, but you're also able to be the grown-up they can talk to. And that's really good, because it also, for those that have behavioural issues, I have to pull them to one side and go, look, I get it, but it ain't going to work here. So this is how it has to be.
You're very good with that. I have to say that is something you're very, very good with. And you have that's your empathy. You have a connection with children of all ages, because we were teaching, weren't we, from sort of age 4 to age 20 or older. And what I love about you is you've got an ability to connect, and they know that if you say, right, that's enough now, they know they've overstepped that line. And not everybody has that ability as a teacher. We go to the old school, the corporate punishment. It doesn't work. It doesn't work shouting at anybody. And it didn't help me.
Stuck in a plie in ballet class for like what felt like forever, while the teacher came out and sorted your feet out and turned your knees out.
I think both of us learned from quite a strict entertainment backdrop, both of us, and professional careers on stage, that we wanted to have a gentle approach. And I think that was really important in the work that we then gave to the children. Every child matters. Everybody's equal. As you say, my weird is your weird. We're all strange together. And, you know, because entertainers are different. Of course we're different, because we, as we said in the beginning, we desperately want love. And getting towards entertainment, Roz, sidestepping back, I want you to tell us a little bit more about your professional career, because obviously you were working in Blackpool as a lead compere. So, and then you worked with a duo, didn't you? You had a singing and comedy duo. So tell us a little bit more about that, so we can hear about that. So lovely to speak with you. Some great insight here today, Roz.
Right, yeah, I was compere for nearly 10 years at a bar called Nellie Dean's in Blackpool, to the point that regular visitors to Blackpool that came back time and time again thought my name was Nellie, because I was there so long.
Wow.
Whatever, I don't mind. And that was great. And I was doing cabaret gigging, you know, in Blackpool. There's a million hotels that have cabaret, all the working men's clubs and all that sort of thing. So I was doing gigs, I was comparing. And then one of the cabaret singers that came to Nellie Dean's, she was cabaret to her fingertips. She'd had her first cabaret residency at 16, and all she knew was how to be a performer. And she used to get very angry with some of the other compares because they'd need to get to the dressing room, so they'd walk across in front of her on the stage, and they couldn't understand why she was so annoyed by that. And I never did that, and I was very respectful while she was on stage, of making sure that anything I did didn't distract. And we became friends in the end. And we were, like you and I, when we were together, we were a comedy duo anyway.
So you thought I might as well get paid for this.
One Christmas, we went to do separate gigs at the same hotel. She was on before me. And because we knew the guys that owned it, we kind of did a crossover, and we started being our usual selves and snarky to each other. We came off, and the hotel owner was, "You have to do this." He was actually a drag act, and he's like, "You need to like work on that and bring it up." So it became the P Sisters, which it started off as like, "Why are you the PMT Sisters?" Because we are, right? But then somebody else rechristened it as the Pissed Mouthy Tarts. So
either or.
And
where was this, Roz? Where was this? Was this at Nellie's as well, or?
That was at Nellie's, but we went all around the north. We went over. We had a 2-month stint in Driffield at a place called the White Horse, which was over Christmas and New Year and some extra bits and pieces. We used to do our comedy spot there. Then we did like just a straight 45 minutes cabaret set, the pair of us together.
Wow. Would that be incorporating singing into comedy? Was it a bit of both? Wonderful. And were you singing as well, Roz?
Yes, we both sang. We did a lot of lyric changes to songs.
Good, yeah.
We were quite rude, so we did really well on the gay circuit. Lots and lots of gay venues booked us. We used to put out a warning that if you were easily offended, you might not want to watch our show. My favourite one was somebody who went to the manager of Nellie Dean's after we'd finished and said, "I have to tell you, that act was disgraceful. It was so rude." And he said, "Well, why did you stay and watch it then? You sat through the whole thing." But
and was that little old lady?
So and we had a lot of fun doing that, because like when you and I worked together, it was just us, but turned up a bit. And,
isn't it great when you meet, as I did you, when you meet somebody very special that you can perform with, that you can connect with, that you can pick up the phone, years could drop, 5 years, 2
Yeah.
years. I mean, we've never let it drop that long, but years
No.
could drop and you can get back in touch, and it's as if
like
you've never been apart.
Yeah.
And that's what a beautiful friendship is. And that's one of the most important parts of being alive. And that's what, as you quite rightly said, lockdown did. It separated us all.
Yeah.
And part of this podcast forum for me, after being ill for 10 years, is to get everybody back together on a public platform so that we can all reunite and learn from each other, because we've all got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And yours is extremely valuable because it transcends so much. It transcends your health, entertainment, which is what this channel's about, but it also transcends your personal character. As I say, you should be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and you have those attributes. And I think children will benefit consistently now ahead from knowing you the way that I do and learning from you, Roz. You've got so many skills to share, and such humility as well, which not everybody has. Such genuine care for people. So getting back to your performances, tell me a little bit about those performances. You know, it was particular songs or any comedy.
It was, for example, the very first song. It would start me singing on my own. Thank you for the music, the typical tacky solo cabaret. And I'm sorry to anyone that still sings that in cabaret. I know they love it, but that's how it was. So it was me started to sing that. Then you would hear on the backing track a toilet flush. And she would come from the direction of the ladies' toilets going, "Oi, wait for me, we're a duo." But you have never seen the like. I mean, in her solo cabaret, she was so straight and so serious and so plump. And this duo gave her the chance to be everything ridiculous that she never thought she could be. So she would come on with like coats on. Her face was red apart from a big white mark there. And the thing was, she'd fallen asleep with the sunglasses on. So that was that.
That's good.
She had a Teletubbies backpack and all this ridiculous stuff. So then she'd sort of join in that song and be really bad at it. And Crush became Thrush. My Way became Sideways. You can see where we went. It wasn't sophisticated humour.
And is this something that you can maybe rekindle, do you think?
I had said to people, it would be fun to do again, but instead of the PMT sisters, we would have to be the HRT sisters.
Yes, that would be good. They're back. And great.
It was great. We had people that followed us around gigs, so we obviously
had a good following.
And we just had a really good time doing it. It was
brilliant.
And
what did you personally get from Nellie's as well? Nellie Deans as the compere, Roz. What lit you up working there, do you think?
I don't know. It's really hard. I mean, I used to say, because the cabaret acts would be like, "Oh, I can do your job," and then I went on holiday for 2 weeks, and the cabaret acts were taking turns at doing my job, and I got back off holiday and they went, "Never go on holiday again.
Oh,
the job is so difficult, I can't know how you do it." But you've done it. Yes, you have certain things that you need to say along the way, but it's being able to talk from the top of your head, come up with things. If you get heckled, come back with an answer. And try and get the whole room involved and part of the show and watching and enjoying it.
That then also the brain, people often think it's the physical activity such as the singing and the dancing. It's not just that, it's the mental jumping from, as you say, you've got to not just set up your PA speakers and which is a physical thing. You've then got to try and be funny, try and remember your lines, and on a nightly basis. And for you then had the additional 2 children, and you were on your own, if I can say that. You were on your own with 2 children, and putting bread and butter on the table, doing everything independently, that's an enormous challenge. And people often think entertainers, and certainly I've said this before, Rishi has said entertainers need to retrain and find other jobs. Well, you and I did.
Yes,
And we can do other jobs. We are intelligent. We are, more than perhaps the perception. So what would you say is the benefits of entertainment and the field, transcending into teaching as well? What would you say the benefits are to let Rishi know how valuable we are?
The benefit for anyone doing any kind of performance training is the fact that you get to know yourself a little better.
Yeah.
And certainly in the teaching side of it, I've seen kids go from this person that would stand in the corner and not speak to anyone to taking the lead in a show and singing out and being amazing. And that's what it gives. And dear old Rishi, we might have some better politicians if they had gone through the process themselves.
Yeah.
They are nothing but performers, and he's a very bad act. But yeah, I think it's just being able to let go of any sort of insecurity, because that's what performance does.
Yeah.
You do it first by pretending to be someone else.
Yeah.
That gives you the confidence, and then you find ways to take that through your life. And hopefully, I always say to the kids that are doing performing arts now, you might end up working in a shop, but when those customers come in, and what you want to do is, get out of my way, you put the act on and you smile and you do it. That's what performance will teach you, how to be happy when you're not. It's not in general day-to-day life, but certainly in work, it gives you that ability to adapt and understand what's going on. And just in general, most performers I've ever met, most are some of the most compassionate people that I have ever known.
Yeah. And is there anybody in particular in your plethora of history of your career that particularly stands out? Anybody that you've worked with professionally or?
My favourite person, I was in a show called The Chronicles down in Kent, and I was an angel, and bizarrely Bill Maynard was God. And one night I fainted backstage, because obviously you know what it gets like backstage. It's hot, it's this, it's that, and I fainted, and I came to with God in his Mickey Mouse underpants, passing me a brandy. But he was so kind, so supportive. And even though a group of us were just amateurs, he didn't treat us like that, and he always tried to give us a leg up and pointers and whatever else. And I just remember at the time, like I say, loads of kids now don't even know who he is, but at the time he was quite famous to me, and seeing somebody who was that well known be so kind to everybody and not treat anyone any differently.
Yeah.
In the same show was former Peter presenter Peter Duncan, who could not have been more up himself if he tried. He was horrible. Okay. Nobody wanted to associate with him. So I always kind of thought, right, you can be this way or that way, and I'm not going to be the up myself way, because I'm not better than anybody else. I might be able to do a comedy act or sing, but other people can build a house. I can't do that. It doesn't matter what your talent is. Yeah. You have a talent. You just need to find it.
That's very wise.
Sometimes through performance, it gives you insights into lots of different worlds.
Yes.
And that allows you to go, hey, this is where I want to go, actually.
To get the audition or to get the job, I call it, because to me, every job interview is called an audition.
It's an audition, yeah.
But to get the job, the drama skills that people can learn with yourself, for example, from a teacher, is the opportunity to be able to sit, audition, or job interview, I call it. And so there's
absolutely audition, because there are 20 people that could practically physically do that job. You are auditioning to become part of the cast, even if they don't see it that way. There's a team of people that work somewhere, and you're being auditioned to see if you will fit in that team. So it is about portraying yourself in the best way, and performance can help you do that.
Absolutely. So it's, you know, sometimes people say, well, when you've got these skills from this university, well, then you've got the opportunity and doors open. Well, actually, would you agree? We have to open those doors ourselves. And it's us. It's all down to us. But it's also the teachers that we have, and people like yourself in the industry who are teaching people from a young age. And you know, the value that you have. What would you say your value is as a teacher now today with your wisdom?
I think the biggest thing, like, the kids say to me, I'm the coolest support worker, because there are others around the college. And I simply say, I've seen more of life. And I think that's the thing, is I can honestly sit there and go, yeah, I've been there, and it stinks, but it gets better and you get out the other side. You know, I don't just say you can't do that. I explain and I justify and tell them, you know, this is important. It might not seem important right now. You know, it might be that a level 3 performance qualification doesn't lead you anywhere to perform in, but it tells your employer that you can do enough academic work to pass qualification, that you can stick something out, because that's another thing. And it's just telling them that it's okay to feel down as well. I was always told, you know, God, I was in a psychiatric unit when I was 18 with severe depression and paranoia, and my dad came in and spoke to the key worker, who told my dad all the mental issues that I had at that time. And my dad simply came to see me and said, come home, we'll have a cup of tea and a chat and it'll be fine. And it was just that mentality then, was like, it's not going to be fine. Because they could not get their head around how I was feeling. Whereas I might not understand everything that my students are going through, because to them it's personal, but I can support them and tell them it will get better. I can be somebody that they can talk to. And I get to teach them how to show off and how to do well and how to enjoy performing and not worry about performing. You know, we've just had a great time. There's characters in the show that they're doing called Cloud Men, and we've had a fantastic time creating backstories for the clouds and how did they come to be clouds and where were they generated. But we've had so much fun with that. And I say to them, look, this is all you do in life. You just look and you go, right, I want that job. Who do I need to be for that job? I'm going to be that person. And you go forward, and performance helps you learn how to do that, even if it is running around being a cloud man.
That's amazing. I mean, I've not heard of, I don't think I ever used a cloud once. So I have to say, with all the iCloud.
The Giant Peach, apparently. They're in James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, are they? Right. So they're quite an in thing. So really, Roz, what I hear what you're saying is, from your wealth of experience on stage, from your wealth of teaching, not just working for other companies, but also setting up your own incredible company, and now, of course, you're working in a teaching environment in a college, and you know, what's next for you? And also, you know, would you say, with having a disability yourself, how would you encourage anybody who's in that situation, who's indoors? Would you agree with me that having a purpose, having a goal, having something outside of that?
Yeah.
Go on, over
when
to
I
you.
first started to be to a stage where I thought I might be able to get back to work, I tried volunteering first.
Okay.
The reason being, it doesn't matter if the volunteer can't make it in that day. So it didn't matter if my health wasn't great because they had enough staff. I was just somebody that came in, and I supported at a company called Ormerod, and I supported in their drama club. And they had a day a week that was their drama club. And they put on shows and performances and did Stars in Their Eyes and stuff. And I ended up actually employed by them and working for them for 5 years. And then COVID, and there were no more day clubs, and there was no more of that. So I did work in just the houses for a while, but I knew I needed something else. And Edward was working as a support teacher at Blackpool and the File College, and he said, "Mum, they're asking for more support staff, why don't you apply?" So I did, and because of my experience with performing arts and whatever else, they put me at the School of Arts campus. And it is just, I don't know, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Yes, there are days that drive me mental, and I walk in my front door going, why did I choose to work with teenagers? But, you know.
But you then put your cloud outfit on and it's all right.
This is it. But to me, being in my 50s now, I'm 53 soon, this is where I want to be for a while. I can't see anything big because it suits me. I have my hours that I do, but I also get school holidays off. So I get to spend time with my grandson. Ed often comes back home in the holidays because he's out on the Isle of Man teaching English now. So it means that I get plenty of free time. And as you know from teaching, those half terms, those holidays are bliss because you just, sometimes you need that break. But the way it stands, I don't see myself going anywhere for a while. I miss performing. I miss it like mad. But I kind of get to live vicariously through the kids and be proud of them performing. But yeah, that's where I am now. I'm a nanny. Like I say, my son is now 30. He turned 30 the other week, which is scary because I'm still 18 in my brain and I don't know how what's 30-year-old. But he is a happy person, and performance helped him. Drama helped him. He has autism. He has Asperger's autism. He was bullied at school. He really didn't have a nice time, but he could come and be in shows and cross-dress or just
amazing. And he was also, like you and Joe as well, very, very talented. So it was a pleasure to teach both of your children and know that they had your funny bones and on and off stage, of course. And I'll never forget that they both, in Blackpool once, I think it was Ed and Joe, bought me a clock with Audrey Hepburn in it that lights up. It's still in my kitchen. It's still my favourite item. And, you know, they both have your heart. Whatever they have, they give. And that comes down from you. And so that's what I'd like to end today with, to say you are such a special friend. You're such a special person. And anybody wanting to perform, anybody wanting to get into the arts industry, I highly recommend that you have a word with Roz Dunning. And you can find her on Facebook. Is that right? If anybody needs to connect with you. And anybody from, as I say, all-inclusive, the all-inclusive breakfast, come along. And I know that you're the sort of person that if somebody wanted to ask a question, they could get in touch with you, perhaps through Facebook. And the interesting thing is that the industry is getting better at this. You now see actual disabled people playing disabled people. Yes. I went to see a production of The Elephant Man where every single member of that cast, they had a deaf actress, they had the guy that played the Elephant Man had cerebral palsy. Every single person in that cast had various disabilities or neurodiversities.
And it was a fantastic production, more so because of that, I think.
Yeah.
So the industry is catching up.
It
Just
is.
because your little local group might not take you, your local college will.
Yes.
And go for it. Do it.
Absolutely. And
Be
whether you want to
silly,
be
be bonkers. Enjoy it.
absolutely, and whether you want to be professional or whether you want to just do it as confidence building, team skills. We've got people that have connected through my theatre school and yours who are still friends. The
Yeah.
teachers, if you want to teach like you and I,
Yeah.
and if you want to perform like you and I, there's such a wealth of diversity within the entertainment industry, and there's numbers of people who perhaps they don't want to go on stage, but they might want to do the sound or the lighting or the production. So there's so many fields, and it's such a wonderful celebratory team in the
Yes.
entertainment world, where everybody in general, everybody supports everybody, because we're all insecure, we're all in this boat together, and we all want to be loved. So
Yes.
we're all here to help each other, and that's what I love about entertainment. But you, Roz, you really do break the mold. You are a beautiful human being with a great spirit, and I implore and encourage anybody to follow in your footsteps professionally and as a teacher. And if you do want to contact Roz, please do get in touch over Facebook, and I'm sure she'll give you a wealth of support and advice. And I wish you all the very best for the future, and I hope you and I can get to perform on stage again at some point in the future. Love you very much, Roz. Pleasure to speak to you today, and thank you for sharing your life story with us on Catherine Vandome and me. Thanks, Roz.